This is your gentle reminder that really it is so good to choose joy during this winter month, which is so horrible and awful. And so this year we're doing it by creating florals every day. Just a little practice of showing up for ourselves and connecting with our own creative spirit that's just going to help bring some joy into this month. So if you haven't gotten a hold of the prompts for this month, if you're just joining us, that's totally fine. Just comment February and I will send you the PDF file that you can download. I am so glad you're here and welcome to what is today? Day 17 of the 28 days of play. So I'm so glad you're here. Let's check out today's prompt, which is to create without fixing. So let's get started. I don't know what I'm going to do today, which is pretty typical for me, I think. Okay, I need a drink of coffee after all that. I got to start the sacred mood, right, with a cup of coffee. All right. Okay, so let's dive in. I think I'm going to grab just a spray bottle. This is watercolor paper that I'm working on in a sketchbook. So I just want to wet down the back a little bit. And I'm going to play with maybe some flowy background bits. I love the way the water and the watercolor interact. It's just so fun. That's like a meditation in and of itself, just watching the water move paint. And one of the best tools that you can have is this guy right here. I go through a lot of these in the studio, although I try to, like, you know, not use too many. So I'm just blotting. I am really messy though, so it's just the way it is. Some artists, when they work, are so clean, and it's like their fingers don't get messy, and I'm mesmerized by all of it because I don't know how that happens. So let's see, what else? With a little bit of no overthinking, Tish, no overthinking. I think I'm gonna, I wanna take out maybe this white space a little bit. So I'm gonna grab my watercolor brush and get some of this orange right here that I had the other day. And somebody had asked me if these are the liquid watercolor here in this palette, and they are. They have just dried out. They dry out overnight, and you can rehydrate them pretty simply by putting a wet brush in them, or you can mist your paints so that they get all yummy and delicious again. Okay, so I'm just gonna drop in some orange, put a little more water on here so that these aren't so intense. Not overthinking, just playing. We are playing, yay. What other area of our lives can we just play and have fun and make our own rules, right? Everybody else has expectations. There are no expectations. That's kind of pretty right there already, right? Looks like a shirt I wore in college. I was like a wannabe hippie when I was younger. But you guys, right now, I drive a bright orange Volkswagen van. So, I mean, I'm kind of there. Okay, let's go into, grab some of this turquoise. I'm just gonna play with And I usually do this before I start the video, but I did tape off my edges. And so I'm just playing. Just playing. Can I use this again? Sure, why not? Okay. I think I might spray that a little now that it's not so intense. Move that around a little bit. Ooh, I like that. And I like how the blue over the green the blue over the yellow is giving me green vibes. Like that. Let's do it again. Let's see, let's add a different color. Maybe this cobalt blue. I've got a couple different colors of blue. So this is cobalt. I used turquoise before. What else do I have over here? Navy blue. I'll try that one next. Thinking maybe I'll spritz this one first. Just dab it a little. Watercolor is so fun. It's like a complete experiment every time we do it. Okay, loving you, loving that. You have to be kind to your paintings. I find like sometimes I've been in workshops with people where they're just like, I hate this. This is so ugly. I can't believe this. But the thing is, like, that energy totally transfers over to what you're doing and what you're creating. So you have to be very kind. You have to say, I think you are gorgeous and you are just going to be something really special. And you are going to speak to people's hearts and it is going to be incredible. I'm just happy to be along for the ride, you know? So like, that's the energy we want to put out there. Let's see what else we got. Did I do the navy yet? I don't think I did. Maybe. Oh, I set it over here. Whoopsie. Okay. It's kind of like those marks I was making yesterday where we were going edge to edge with things. It's all right. Maybe it's just the energy I have today. I feel like you always bring different energy to what you're creating. You know, since I'm a very intuitive painter, I primarily paint on really large canvases. Like I'll do, you know, 4-foot canvases or whatever. And people will say like, well, could you do this on a smaller scale, or could you paint something similar to that one, but in, and I'm like, I will try, but I honestly have no idea how I did it. And it's the energy that I brought that day that was like unique to that particular paint. Ooh, I like that. Unique to that particular painting session that I feel like was captured through the paint in that moment. And so it's just, it's like, how do you recreate that? Okay. Loving this. I'm going to give this a little dry. Okay, so I want to just address too, like if you feel like, you know, something's happening on your page today and you're like, oh gosh, I really wish I would have done something differently. Like just really ask yourself, like, what could I do with this? You know, like what other, like how do I need to pivot? Or how could I become a little bit more flexible in how I approach this? Because oftentimes it's those lessons that we learn on the canvas that then we can take off the canvas and make ourselves just better humans, you know? So I think now I want to play with some acrylics on top of this. Now, if you're not somebody who plays with this, you will know that, or if you are, sometimes the watercolors will bleed through. I like it. I embrace it. I like the surprise of it, the unexpected nature of that color coming through. But it may drive you nuts, so I'm just going to warn you in advance. I'm going to put down some of the primary magenta, and I'm putting down some primary yellow. I'm going to put down some primary blue. We're going with a primary palette today. And maybe I'll add some of this teal. So these are golden colors. I use fluids, and then I add mediums to it if I ever need to thicken it up. I just feel like it fits my painting style a bit better. So I'm going to switch and be a good girl and put my watercolor brush away. I like to destroy watercolor brushes. And I'm going to instead grab a couple of acrylic brushes. All right, so I'm going to play with, I'll go with the bigger brush first. So I'm going to play with mixing some colors here. I think first I'm going to go into just a little bit of yellow there and make this a little bit more of like a vermilion color. Let's see what that looks like. Maybe this could be just like a field of poppies or something. guess it could be roses or whatever, but. So when I paint flowers and stuff, I really just like, I'm not being fussy at all about the marks that are being made. I'm just really focusing more on changing the shape and changing the size. Any way that I can add variety to a painting is going to assist me in making a more interesting composition. Okay, sure, why not? Okay, let's then go into, actually I'll do a little bit more of the red over here. I've never seen a field of poppies. Is that an illegal thing to grow poppies? I don't know. Okay. So I think I'm gonna mix a little, now some blue and yellow. Blue and yellow gives us green, but I don't like the color green that blue and yellow gives us, so I like to add just a little hint of red to it, and that helps to desaturate it a bit. Probably add a little too much, but that's not bad. Now I have more of like a little bit of an olive. So now I'm just gonna start making some marks. And I'm just literally holding my brush super loose and just kind of brushing it, you know, across the page and letting it sort of land wherever it wants to. I like to work like very like thin to thicker layers. So this is definitely a very thin layer. I think if you start off too thick, maybe that's a mistake that people make, if we're going to use the word mistake for today, because then you sort of box yourself in. The texture really begins to define what you're limited to doing as opposed to the possibilities of working thin to thick. So it's just a little different. All right. So now I'm going to add a little red and blue. Red and blue gives us purple. So I'm going to add a little more red to that. And now I'm going to add this purple because in shadows, it's really not black in shadows, right? It's like a combination of colors. So I'm just kind of down here at this bottom area adding in a little bit of purple. Bringing a little bit of it up. Okay. And then I'm going to go back into that and add a little bit of this teal. And this gives me a bit of a gray color to it, sort of a blue gray. And I'm going to play with that sort of as a shadow color too. It's good to just keep layering, keep layering. And it's okay if we're blocking out some of these flowers behind it. Because we're going to add, I keep getting nervous I'm going to dip in my coffee instead of my water. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my greens, and I'm going to add a little bit of white to it. So now I've got my yellow, my blue. I'm going to put a little bit of a desaturated color on this side. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of, so although I'm using a square brush, I'm sort of like twirling it as I'm drawing these lines because, you know, I'm not making a straight line necessarily. I want to give a little twist to it. So now I'm just adding another layer, and because we're going a little lighter, brighter, this one is sort of coming up to the foreground a bit more. I have no idea what poppies look like. I know that they're red. But this is the thing. You can look up a picture of poppies if you wanted to do this particular painting, but I'm a big fan of painting your heart flowers. And so if you want this particular plant to look like this, then it exists in your heart, and that is okay. It's more important, honestly. We're not trying to explore floral anatomy or any of those things. We're trying to have fun. So if it doesn't scratch that itch of like we're trying to have fun, then we're not for that. So first and foremost, it must be fun. Okay, so I'm gonna just add in a little bit more of the green, kind of towards the bottom here with this dry brush that I have. And I'm just gonna keep working. So the thing about greenery to remember is that it is made up of so many different colors. There are blues, there are purples, there are yellows, there are reds. And so it is just this back and forth of trying to capture that. And see that if I add more yellow, see how that kind of pops off the page? You know, so maybe there's just a few moments of and you don't want everything maybe to be that color, so don't feel like you have to like take it totally across the page, but just find some little moments that are working for you. Okay. So I'm going to, I think now go into a little bit of the teal and the white. And I might just go ahead and pop a few of these in here and see how that teal just pops off. So again, I'm just finding a couple places where I can bring that color in kind of more sparingly. But I think that's looking good. And now I want to go back and address some of the flowers again and bring some flowers up to the foreground. But first I'm going to give this a little dry. So you don't need to look at this and go like, oh, I lost my flowers, but my flowers, oh no, yeah. So really it's just now it's an opportunity for me to bring some flowers to the foreground. So I'm going to add my red with a little bit of white, just a tiny bit of that yellow, because in my mind, I feel like they're kind of an orangey red. So we'll see if that holds true. And then I'm just going to continue to bring some of those to the front. So see how now these sort of pop off because they are closer. And because they're closer, they can be even bigger. See how I made a couple of these down at the bottom even bigger. I feel like maybe they're like discs or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Okay, I'm gonna make some more of this orangey color. And it's okay too. So since I'm doing a spread, I'm really treating this as one painting. So I have just added a little bit more white to this red to make it really pop. And I'm gonna bring that forward. And I think what I wanna do, because I really want this to pop, is I want to maybe grab a different color to kind of bring things forward even a little bit more. So let me grab, I'm thinking like maybe a fluorescent or a pyrrole red. Let me see what I got. We have a couple of options. We could go with a pyrrole red, or I could add a fluorescent red to my color. Let's try the fluorescent red and see what that does. I love the way a fluorescent just adds a little pop. So I'm going to show you, like as I put it on here, see how already you can see that little pop of color that is just bringing it forward. And then let me try the pyrrole red too. Let's do an experiment. I always need to shake this up though. It's a big bottle and sometimes they settle a little bit. Okay. Sometimes pyrrole red, even on its own, might be enough because it's so much brighter. See how much brighter it is than the Quinn red, or not Quinn red, primary red. Ooh, look at that. That's good. So sometimes depending upon what you're doing creatively, like you might just have to adjust your paint color a little bit. So I'm just gonna do a couple of these little guys through here in our closest flowers to us. Okay. And then let's see, let's give this a quick dry. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're going to grab our smaller brush. And we're gonna kind of go back through a little bit of that process, but I want to get, I'm looking for a fine line applicator with Prussian blue in it, I think is what I wanna do. So let's try this. So this is a fine line applicator with Prussian blue, and I just want to do some more of this situation here. We're playing. Okay, I need to put the lid back on this because if I don't, it will dry out and I will never be able to use it again. Which is like an exercise in how can you get your middle-aged eyes to be able to thread the needle, which is impossible. Okay, so what I want to do again is maybe give this a little squirt so my color spreads just a bit. Don't panic. Don't panic. It's okay. It's paint. It's fine. It's paint. Okay. Don't panic. Are you panicking? Don't panic. I'm not stressed. This is a stress-free zone where we drink coffee, we listen to music, we have impromptu dance parties. I'm telling you, if you come to one of my workshops, it is good vibes all day. So let's try this real quick. I'm so glad my throat is feeling better. I can actually hum again. I used to drive my coworkers nuts because they were like, can you please stop singing and humming? I don't even think I know I do it half the time. Oh man, I'm making a mess. Okay, that probably needs to go in the water. Let me find a better brush. Oh, here's one. Look, right here it is. Okay, so I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna go now back into, because when you put down dark, right, it's an opportunity to bring in light. If there's darkness around you, it's an opportunity to bring in light. So we are bringing in some light, people. Watch out. Okay, so yellow, blue. I'm gonna leave this less, I'm not gonna desaturate it this time. I'm just gonna see what that looks like through there. It's okay to go over the red again. We're gonna bring in a little bit of white here, I think, is what is needed to build up some opacity. I'm gonna put in a little bit of this teal also. Ooh, yes, this is it. Let's see. Desaturate it just slightly, add some white. It's all about playing to find the right mix. But I'm liking it. This is kind of stylistically like the process that I went through with that tulips painting. So if it feels a little bit familiar, kind of similar. And then I'm going to go into making some purple. So red and blue make a purple, and a touch of white, a touch of teal, a little bit more red. So I've made myself sort of a gray lavender. It's important that you add neutrals to your painting because it just gives your painting that groundedness, you know, and also just kind of like it's like a moment to breathe. A little teal, a little red, a little more red. So it's a little bit of a brighter, lighter purple. So I'm varying my strokes a little bit, and I'm sort of twirling my paintbrush as I pull it up. So I'm getting these kind of like thin, wispy moments, but I'm crossing over, I'm adding different pressure so they get different thicknesses. Okay, so now I'm going to go into some of this teal with some white. Can you guys see what I'm doing? No. Move up my palette a little bit. It's all these like varieties of colors, right? Because when we think about like the shadow part of plants or grass, like we just want to make it dark. But in truth, there's so many colors down there. And so much so that I might even bring in some of this fluorescent red mixed with white is going to give me a little bit of like this peach color. And so I'm going to add that as like some highlights here. So see how I've got those little pops now of color? Let's add a little yellow to that now. It's good to have these warm highlights on top of all these cool colors. Do, do, do. Don't neglect the gutter. When you have it's so weird for me because I only have really been doing these things in a sketchbook. I got away from sketchbook practice for a very long time. And I had a sweet friend of mine who reminded me how wonderful it is to work in a sketchbook because it's so liberating. It's so not precious. Like when you get on a big canvas, you feel like, oh gosh, I better make this count. And then you kind of self-edit a bit more. And this practice of getting back in a sketchbook where it's not precious has been amazing to me. And I've told her, but I don't know that she fully appreciates like just how amazing it has been for me to find this freedom again, to just do these small things where I can engage creatively no matter where I am, no matter what I'm up to. I can find a few minutes to do this during the day. So it's just been wonderful. Her name is Susan Yates. You should follow her on YouTube if you don't already. She has a wonderful sketching membership called Inspire, which actually I will be teaching on in March. I'm doing a March session. So, which is coming up. My goodness, that is like around the corner. So I'm going to go into just some of this primary blue, but the point I was making about that was that this is really an opportunity for you to explore all sorts of things, to do these little like creative tests, if you will, and then take those forward maybe onto a different substrate. But one of the things that's been sort of something new for me is dealing with the gutter. And so I just have been reminding myself, don't ignore the gutter. You want things to sort of cross over and through that area as well. So don't ignore the gutter. Let's see. So I'm just playing with colors. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I need. And I might just be ready at this point to bring some more of the flowers forward. So let's try that. But I love these little bits, how we have like bits of flowers peeking through. So I'm gonna be a little bit more intentional now about, I think poppies look like this. I think they have like this sort of thing going on. I don't know. I'm not a poppy farmer. If anybody's a poppy farmer out there, let me know what they look like. If I'm nailing it, or if I'm totally getting this wrong. But see how I'm also like, okay, so I'm also looking at like the entire composition. I'm just telling you what I'm thinking. So I'm looking at how do these blooms like flow across the page. And so I'm kind of taking them a little bit diagonally because I have all these wonderful background bits, but I want to use these ones that are really popping, right? And kind of bring them a bit through this to bring our eye across this whole expanse. Now I'm feeling like, and this is such a habit, right, for all of us. See how evenly spaced out all these are? Because that's what our brain wants. Our brain wants symmetry and it wants same. And so sometimes we have to intentionally tell ourselves like, see how I'm gonna put those two together. I'm gonna make this one kind of overlap down here. Let's see, let's do another one over here. And then they kind of look like little hearts. I like that. A field of love. That's fun. So I'm just gonna kind of put in a few more to give myself a little, so it looks a little bit less intended there. Let's put on here and maybe here. Okay. So now that I have that, I'm feeling like instead of these like, you know, big streaked, I don't even know what they are, grasses, leaves, I don't know, that I want to put in some lines that might hold these flowers a little bit, but I want to still do it in a very, very loose way. So I think I want to get out a little bit of the Prussian blue. Oh, maybe I'll just use this fine line applicator. Okay, so I'm just going to give just the suggestion that these guys might be, that they're not really floating in space, right? They have something holding them to the ground. Hey, I like that. Okay. That makes me feel like they're a bit more grounded. Gotta put the cap back on, otherwise it dries out. Okay. So we're gonna let this dry. I won't make you watch. And then we'll come back and do some finishing marks. Okay, I'm gonna play with maybe on just like a couple of these up front, putting some dark little dots because I think that's what poppies have. So just some of these that are like absolutely close to us. Okay. And then I want to play with bringing in a little bit of, this is like a gold gel pen. I like a little sparkle, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm just gonna, I think, do it more like up at the top where the sun would be catching maybe the tops of these. Just a little bit, bring a couple of them through. Okay, digging that. Let's do it with a little bit of white too. Just a few little moments. Don't ignore the gutter. Okay, I'm liking that. And then I think I just want a few, oh, look, I'm picking up my watercolor brush again to abuse it. Do not abuse your watercolor brushes. Okay, so let's do maybe just like a bright yellowy orange in the front here with some white. I don't know, I'm just making up a color. Something that's gonna be kind of bright. So just cross over a few of these guys so that they don't feel like it's just this top layer that nothing else is interacting with. And then I'm going to take a little bit of white, which I need some more. And I'm going to add it to my Pyro Red down here. Just a little bit. Maybe a touch of yellow. And I'm just going to add a little bit of highlight on some of these little flowers that are down front. Kind of look like some of their petals are catching light. It does not have to be perfect, guys. It's really just about, I'm going to add just a couple of these little moments just back here through the back. Okay, I think that's looking good. Okay, let's see what happens when we take off the tape. It's the big reveal moment. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so a lot of those things that happen like at the very beginning of our session that were like kind of crazy and all over the place, like I think if I would have taken the stance that this was oh, I've made a mistake, now I can't move forward, I think I would have lost the opportunity for a lot of storytelling that is now taking place on this page. So I just encourage you to like keep working forward. Every time you come to the canvas or to the page, you're gonna be working, it's like we're problem solvers, you know, like we're like, okay, now how can I begin to move this forward? What would be the next step here? And so you're going through in your mind and in your heart, trying to decide what is gonna make me really happy in this moment. And so it's just kind of like that process of letting control, of holding things a bit more loosely, of just adopting a spirit of, you know, I'm just here for it, whatever happens today. It's not always wonderful and your best work, but that's okay. Like we're showing up with what we have to offer today. So anyway, I hope this has been a blessing to you. I hope that you have enjoyed this little moment of play and connecting with your spirit. And I will see you back for day 18 of our 28 days of play. Okay, I didn't want you guys to miss this, but I did make a few extra marks on here. And I apologize, I didn't film it. But I did add, I just needed more color. So I added, I don't know what these flowers are, but a few little dots of orangey yellow up front, because I felt like I had this orange in the background, and so I wanted to bring some up front to tie that color together. I also added a few little streaks of a brighter, I actually mixed watercolor, like a limey colored watercolor with white acrylic, and then put a few streaks through. And then I also realized I forgot to sign it. So I always encourage you guys to sign, and then I forgot to do that. So go ahead and do that, and then I will see you tomorrow. Happy painting.